From one user making enough money to pay off his tuition, to another user losing everything after doing due diligence with his newborn baby, we're gonna go over the juiciest trades of June. RaspberryKetchup is a user who made his first ever options trade without even knowing what options were, but in the end managed to 7x his money in a day. Back on June 6th, when GameStop was going crazy, RaspberryKetchup was feeling extreme FOMO. He decided that he should get in on some low-risk fun by buying calls that expired the next day. You might be thinking low risk and 1 DCE options don't really go together, but RaspberryKetchup did, mainly because he didn't know what options were. He thought that options contracts were only for 1 share, when in reality they're for 100 shares. Since he didn't know this, he went and bought 100 calls at the $34 strike price. He thought this trade would only cost him $181, not $18,000. RaspberryKetchup entered the position and somehow didn't realize he just dropped $18K. Regardless, he went about his day as usual. After coming back from a peaceful picnic and a productive day at work, he whipped out his phone and was dumbfounded by what he saw. His $18,000 position was now worth $127,000. Apparently, all you gotta do to bring in 600% daily gains is go to picnics and smash the like button and subscribe. Audience Dues 6445 is a user who used his creativity to unlock an infinite money glitch. On June 24th, Please Keep Me Focused made a post to WallStreetBets about his interest in Nvidia. The stock fell over 6% for the day, and Please Keep Me Focused felt like the stock would have a quick rebound. He bought out of the money calls that expired only 4 days later and got ready for war. Please Keep Me Focused was off to a smooth start, gaining 10% in only about half an hour. Things started to go south again about an hour later, so he decided to double down on his position. He was now $40,000 deep into this trade and only had 10% of his portfolio left in buying power. His calls expired at the end of the week, and the shareholder meeting that was coming up in 2 days could definitely shake things up in either direction. This is where things take a wild turn. Audience Due left the following comment on Please Keep Me Focused post. I should get a loan against my credit card and go all in for calls to October. A now deleted user would tell him that this idea sucks. Instead, he should go buy a gold bar on eBay with his credit card and sell it to a gold shop. After a bit more squabbling, Audience Due was sold on the idea. Audience Due hasn't posted any screenshots of his position, but after questioning him about whether or not he made the trade, he said, I did. I decided to do more. Bought 35K of gold. With Please Keep Me Focused's $40,000 on the line and Audience Due's makeshift margin, Nvidia needed a speedy turnaround or else these two would be in hot water. Please Keep Me Focused finished off the day down $10,000, but little did he know, Nvidia had a prize in store for him the next day. Nvidia jumped back up 6% on June 25th, and his portfolio was up 110%. The morning after this, he morphed into a bear and loaded up on 2-day till expiration puts. The stock fell 4% in just an hour, and his puts flew up by 229%. The only problem was that Robinhood wasn't letting him sell his puts. Please Keep Me Focused was forced to hold and didn't really know when or if he was able to sell. Please Keep Me Focused got some pretty crazy gains, but Audience Due, the eBay gold buyer, never posted any of his positions. Do you think he actually hopped on the Nvidia train, or is he just blowing smoke? After months of holding off, I finally decided to make a Discord server for the community. On top of this, I'm partnering with Webull to get you anywhere from 3 to 75 free stocks. Not only do you get free stocks, but whoever sets up their Webull with my affiliate link in the description will get the all-exclusive Master Trader role in my Discord. Making an account with Webull only takes a few minutes. You can literally deposit 1 cent and they will give you free money. VGP Lounge is a Reddit user who got insanely lucky with this promotion and got $3,000 worth of Tesla stock just a few weeks ago. I'm gonna be using all of this money to make risky trades that I'll post to the Discord, so you'll be able to make contributions to my ticking time bomb of a portfolio. In all seriousness, Webull is a great platform, and your signups really help me out. Make sure to get your free stocks and your Master Trader role with the link down below in the description. Mega Jigglypuff 714 is a user who has just taken taken his portfolio to $1 million value at the young age of 25. Mega Jigglypuff started his investing journey at 15, where he took his summer job money and put it into a custodial brokerage account. Mega Jigglypuff made a decent amount of money by buying and holding tech stocks. MJP, like everyone else on the subreddit, started to get sick and tired of plain old shares and wanted to start dealing with options. He shifted on over to Robinhood and actually wasn't doing so bad up until March of 2020. When March came along, his portfolio dropped like a rock by 90% and was worth less than $10K. He moved this over to his Roth IRA, but was still eager to strike gold. Finally, in 2021, he was able to quickly turn $12,000 into $90K with GameStop. This was great, but somewhere around this time, MJP's parents called the cops on him and got him kicked out the house. This leads us to the start of 2024. MJP had a portfolio worth $170K, which was from the trading we had just talked about and 4 years of salary. MJP decided to ditch the QQQ he'd been holding and put some faith in Jensen Huang. He started buying Nvidia shares, but eventually evolved to buying options. On May 24th, he showed us his Nvidia calls that went up over $30,000. Nvidia was already up 120% for the year, but MJP braced himself for an even longer ride on the bull run. He came back only 4 days later to show that he was up another 77K since the last post. At this point, he was ready to go big or go home, so MJP dumped even more money into this Nvidia position. A week after this post, he came back to show us that he had taken his 70K into now just about $320,000. That track guy said, "You barely 5x on a YOLO, nominal value aside, this was stupid AF." Others said, "When sell? This regard gonna hold till zero." MJP didn't listen though, and Nvidia kept on rallying. Nvidia briefly broke $140 on June 20th, and MJP officially obtained $1 million portfolio. These gains are all unrealized though, and he pretty much has everything sitting in Nvidia calls. With only $89 of available cash in his Roth IRA and negative $9,600 in his main account, let's hope Nvidia keeps its momentum. The next story we have actually involves multiple people on Wall Street Bets, and let's just say things are a little bit heated. Soul Eater is out for blood after what SDF IT did to him, but let's talk about what led up to this kerfuffle. Back on June 3rd, SDF made his grand debut to Wall Street Bets to let us know about his master plan. Bath & Body Works was set to report earnings the very next day, and SDF practically had insider info. SDF had been on paternity leave for 5 months. He used this as the perfect opportunity to do market research with his newborn options trading baby. He had 3 different malls nearby, and this was all he needed to conduct his master plan. Every single day, he took his newborn baby to these malls to scope out the Bath & Body Works stores for a couple hours. This may sound pretty darn unorthodox, but SDF figured he could get a close enough estimate as to how Bath & Body Works was performing by comparing traffic to other stores in the mall. SDF would keep track of how many bags he saw people walking out with, and even walked inside to count how many items people had in their cart at times. After doing this for 124 days, he gathered some solid data. He found that Bath & Body Works was a much livelier store than the other ones in the mall and was doing similarly to Sephora. He includes some photo evidence and brings up some other bullish cases for the company, including the rise in male skincare, talk on the Bath & Body Works subreddit, and dupe culture. SDF concluded his thorough research and bought $20,000 worth of shares and $8,000 worth of calls that all expired by next week. Soul Eater saw this post and said, "Yep, seems solid enough." He also loaded up on $3,800 worth of calls. The stock was trading at just under $52, and based on all of this research, there was no way things could backfire. But of course, things backfired and the stock fell by more than 12% the following day. The company had beat expectations, but overall guidance was a bit rocky. Soul Eater posted, "Alright Bath & Body Works guy, where the are you? I listened to your bipolar rant and ran with it. Maybe my dumbest impulse trade of all time. Have you returned to Bath & Body Works since your previous 200 visits?" Soul Eater was down $3,400, and of course his calls would expire worthless if he held till expiration. The story doesn't end here though, because Moonbaby1969 is another user who got in on the risky action and lost 6.5k. Moonbaby actually brought in a 270% gain the next day with GameStop, but he never made an update post after this, so this gain could be wiped out as well. Ruger1004 is a user who got his hands on a once-in-a-lifetime gain as a 19-year-old. Back on April 25th, Ruger posted about his 117% gain from metacalls. Users would tell him to take the $3,000 profit and run away as fast as he could, but Ruger didn't listen to all these comments and kept on making risky trades. A week later, he showed us that his portfolio was still alive and healthy. 3 days after that though, Ruger was down $1,200 with Apple calls. This is where Ruger really put the pedal to the metal. On May 21st, Ruger revealed his $8,700 position in Apple and overall $10,000 portfolio. Ruger was up an outstanding 418% year to date, but he wasn't ready to hang it up just yet. Only 2 weeks later, he shows us that he's up another 7k on the same Apple calls he's been holding. Ruger didn't know that he was about to be in for a rude awakening. Only 5 days later, the Worldwide Developers Conference would be off to a rocky start. Ruger was down just over 50% for the day, and his portfolio was now only worth $7,600. This was just a minor setback though, because Apple flew 7% the following day, and Ruger's portfolio was now worth $45,000. This was the most amount of money he had ever seen, and was asking the subreddit for advice on what to do next. With a 600% daily gain, users would tell him to take this money and put it into an ETF or high-yield savings account. He's only 19, and this money would surely help give him an easy retirement. Ruger didn't want to go the safe and easy route though. Even though his calls were already up 633%, he decided that he wanted to keep holding. The very next day, his portfolio jumped up another 133%, and Ruger was officially a six-figure teenager. He sold the majority of his calls, but left about $9,500 worth to ride out. Ruger said, "So for everyone wondering, I'm setting money aside for taxes and the rest just go into index fund, and I'm going to trade for fun with 10k, but after this is my goodbye to the sub, feel free to ask any questions." This was a very short-lived statement though, as he would be back the very next day with Lunar YOLO. He bought 10,000 shares of Lunar and put $40,000 on the line. Lunar has fallen 16% since then. It doesn't end there though, because on June 21st, he would reveal that he was down 22k on short-term Apple calls. Safe to say he didn't stick to his plan of investing into ETFs, but hopefully he doesn't lose it all in the process. Ghost Serpent is a user who struck gold on back-to-back short-term SPY calls. Ghost Serpent came to WallStreetBets with only $400, but it was May 31st and he was ready to do some damage. Not too long after market open, Ghost Serpent loaded up 22 out-of-the-money calls that expired Monday, which was the next trading day. SPY jumped 0.91% for the day, and Ghost Serpent's calls were quickly in the money. These calls didn't expire till Monday, but he didn't want to let Theta eat at his position. He sold his contracts for a total value of $5,082. Some people might want to take a break after getting a 1,200% gain, but Ghost Serpent felt like the job wasn't done yet. On Monday, he was ready to spring back into action, and what better way to spring back into action than by buying 0 DTE SPY calls. Ghost Serpent loaded up on 4k worth of calls. SPY quickly started crashing for the day and put him in the red by 25%. Luckily, after about 40 minutes, SPY would go on an unstoppable run for the rest of the trading day, going from 529.04 all the way to 531.64 by market close. Ghost Serpent was able to get his paws on a $16,000 gain. He even says that the position was worth 28k at one point, but the market dipped in the last few minutes of trading, which caused it to drop down to 21k. Ghost Serpent told other users to not follow his footsteps, as he reveals that this string of trades started when he was at his last $1,000. He was down 88% over the past 3 months, but luckily SPY saved him. Comfortable T 1177 is a user who has a very volatile portfolio. Back on June 1st, First, he was showing off his $5,000 gain on Nvidia, followed with another $1,000 gain a week later. Comfortable T had some skeletons in his closet though. Even though he had a few green days, he was actually down 82% over the past 3 months. After losing 80K, he said, "I don't know what to do. My head hurts." Nvidia and Apple calls had completely demolished his savings. Adding insult to injury, Apple had a huge jump the next 2 days. Apple's 10% jump would have sent his portfolio to the moon. He sold his Apple calls for $16K when he could have sold them for $400,000 if he held for just a few more days. On June 17th, he was out trying to revive his portfolio and was actually off to a decent start. Buying Apple calls in the morning and selling them later in the day, he got a 43% gain. Comfortable T said, "I'm trying to recover 80 Gs. See previous post on how I sold Apple calls I paid 50K for that were at one point worth 300K last week." Hopefully Comfortable T is able to retrieve his 80 Gs, but he hasn't given us any updates since this post, so things are pretty up in the air. Chunky Monkey 755, Empu ZD, and 1 Week 8880 are all users that temporarily got themselves into debt due to a glitch in the New York Stock Exchange. On June 3rd, a catastrophic glitch caused Berkshire Hathaway Class A to temporarily plummet from $631K to $185 in the blink of an eye. Brokerages would not be able to fill orders at this low price because, of course, this was just a glitch. A few users on WallStreetBets saw this as the opportunity of a lifetime and decided to place a market order on the stock during the glitch. Realistically, they knew the order wouldn't get filled, but they decided they may as well try. Things turned for the worst as all of their orders got filled at the real price of the stock. This is already bad enough, but the worst part of it all is that some of these orders got filled at horrible prices. 1 week's order got filled at $700,000, so he was immediately at a loss of $75K. He only had $500 in his account prior to this, so he would technically be $75,000 in debt even if he sold the share back to them. All of these users had cash accounts, so they felt like their brokerages got one over on them. Chunky Monkey gave us the update that his account went back to normal, but the 2 other users never got back to us. Hopefully things are going alright for them. Aimu is a user who almost immediately 3x'd his portfolio after joining WallStreetBets, but proceeded to lose it all only a few days later. Aimu started his wild journey back on May 14th. He had $6,500 in his Robinhood portfolio and had been eyeing Tandem. The stock has been on a downward spiral pretty much ever since it went public, but Aimu was feeling undeniably bullish. He bought Tandem calls and, luckily enough, the stock rose 21% in only 2 weeks. Aimu was up 180% and now had over $18,000 sitting in his portfolio. He then bought GameStop and Micron calls, but unfortunately, Roaring Kitty would not come back to save the day. His portfolio shrunk more and more until it completely evaporated into nothing. He had a whopping jaw-dropping total of $34 left in his account, so he spent $30 on 0-day till expiration SPY puts, and of course, these wouldn't save him. With only $4.36 left in buying power, things are looking pretty bleak. Skip M3 is a user who made the wise decision to take his student loan and not spend it on college, but instead throw it into the stock market. After investing for a few years, Skip had about $6K in his portfolio. After a while though, his student loan check came in for 16 Gs. Skip thought, meh, why spend it on college? That being said, he YOLO'd it all into the stock market, and luckily made a pretty solid profit. Going from $22K to $38,000, he's lucky things didn't go bad. Thanks for watching, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment who had the juiciest trade of June.